From the last one, we had a couple, we ran out of time towards the end, and we were talking about sort of encouraging more, and I can't even find it. I should have linked it. More people, to feel okay taking community contributions or like ownership or sort of like doing these other things. And I added a comment sort of as we ran out of time that like, I wonder if we could experiment with sort of like 20% time. And I don't know if that's the right number, but if that would sort of bridge that gap and give people that freedom to go and work on things that they want to work on. And I added that I would also be comfortable sort of exploring some of that because planning for 9 engineers is a lot. And so I'm willing to like let engineers plan some of their own work as long as we figure out how to like, and maybe we don't have to figure out what that is at first. Maybe we like see what happens if we roll some of that back out. But I thought it was worth sort of like continuing to talk about that and get thoughts on maybe what people thought for doing that. Maybe we try it in 1311 or and maybe that's part of the Kanban stuff too, is like they get a little more autonomy into that, and maybe that's what they're looking for, and maybe it's a different way to do that, or part of it. But thoughts?
Yes, I'm all for it. Instead of just doing it loosely of like, hey, you can work on whatever you want. It would be nice to have a buffer, like a buffer issue for each one assigned, and then they would claim it and just point, hey, I worked on this thing, so that we have a track record about what they use that percentage for, so we can see whether that's usable or that's useful or not. And the second is to have a clear mark about what are the issues that are actionable or that are ready to be taken. We could use the ready for development label as like the decisive factor to give them a hint, like here's the issues that are up to be picked up. They don't have to be picked up from that list, but to give them a help a little bit. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely worth trying. With the number, we have to improvise and see what sticks. But yeah, sounds a great idea. Michelle?
Let's do it. I'm super loose these days. I do think it's a great idea. I don't want to get analysis paralysis. Let's do it. 1311.
Hey, I love it. Thank you.
I'm going to move this other comment down.
Oops. Yeah, sorry, I missed it. Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I think the other piece of this was like making sure they find the right work. And I know you mentioned using ready for development, and that may be one thing. We may want to think on that a little bit more. I know, and I say this because I know that I contributed to David not doing the filter thing. I sort of explicitly said no when was asked, and then Phil sort of went and did it without asking, and that's why it got done, right? Like it's just it happens with kids. Like if kids ask, and forgiveness is sometimes better than permission, is sort of like I think what the model just showed us there. And so but I don't want to discourage. I think we've learned a lot with like Phil pushing on it, so I think there's a way to do that. I think maybe the thing to figure out is like properly setting expectations that like, hey, even if you go and work on this thing, like we might not merge it, or we might need to block it, and like making sure the team is comfortable with that. Right. Is maybe a way to hedge against like people taking on passion projects and then feeling upset if we don't do anything about it, or we don't respond in a way that is like the way they wanted to see that go. So maybe that's part of this, and something to think about. I don't have a good answer for this one either, but wanted to make sure that we're thinking about this aspect of it too.
Yeah, Kai, I 100% agree. Maybe we can work together and iterate on a merge request to update our team pages to establish this expectation. Like engineers are welcome to contribute, knowing that A, B, and C, having some expectations set. And I think if we do that on our team pages, then we'll know, the people in those teams will know that that's what we expect of that process. And we can always, once we have that merge request merged, and I think that the three of us can definitely iterate and collaborate on the wording to make sure that we don't miss any particular signs. Sounds good.
Who's gonna start it? You want me to start it?
I just assigned it to me, so
Okay.
I'll go and start something and then pass it to you. Both.
Great.
I feel like you take a lot of the merge requests on, and I don't actually know where our team page is anyway, so those would be a good use to go find.
Cool.
Michelle, you get the next one up.
Okay, this is more of an FYI because it's a slide deck and it'll take a minute to get through, but Andre created this awesome slide deck, which is huge and robust for dog fooding reviewers. It's going to be sent to maintainers today. The short story is almost exactly the same as David's MR. The only real difference, if you could even call it that, is assignees are exclusively the authors or DRIs, and that is like defined versus in his MR, it was just kind of like you do what you want there. So we'll see how that goes, but any questions on that?
You're just gonna like somehow, I guess, ping all the maintainers in Slack and be like, hey, look at this. I wonder if we should do like a couple AMAs and like maybe do sync sessions that way on it, like try and work with Katie to schedule like just the maintainers for the sync AMA like over the next week.
So
Andre asked me this.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andre.
I was just going to say, so my initial idea is to create an issue for like just candid feedback and ping the maintainers there and share it on Slack and see how it goes. If the reception is yeah, this was like a reasonable step forward, we don't even need to do the AMA. But if we do see some noise, I would expect this, that yeah, we should definitely address that feedback. But initially, not start with that, because you still have more than a week to collect the validation feedback from maintainers. There's a slide there that gives a timeline, and it's until not this Friday, the next week's Friday, to collect feedback. And then if during those days after today, we see a lot of, even though we try to address all the questions, if we see a lot of loose ends, I'm open to doing a conversation like that. But Michelle, you had something to say too.
I'm not open to it. Let's see how it goes. If it's like a lot, and maybe my mind can be changed, but overall, I feel like we do a lot of AMAs as it is. That is not very empowering for the nature of GitLab and the async nature and people in all the time zones. And I just feel like we should be so clear in our communication that an AMA really isn't needed, and that kind of speaks that we weren't doing good enough of a job. So my mind can be changed there, especially if like we receive this. No, not even then. We received 107 comments that boiled down to 4 concerns. So if we have an AMA for like 30 minutes to an hour and they're all the same concerns, then let's just see. We'll see.
I guess my my point sort of was that an AMA allows you to explicitly limit without excluding the audience. Whereas an issue, even if you only ping the maintainers, that issue is going to move fast through the engineering org, and you're gonna see the feedback show up from maybe not the audience that we're looking for. Would be sort of I think that's the risk that we run, is that you end up back in the same position because the same people who saw it the first time are going to see it this time, even if it's not the intended audience.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I think we definitely don't want to hide this from the engineers as well. It's just that right now the stage is we want to collect just a validation. We don't even call it like, what's your feedback? It's just we just want to make sure that you validate this iterative step on the process, and we call it exactly that. And we'll see how it goes. We have to keep it a little bit loose, otherwise it'll be hard to sell this. And honestly, it's not that big of an ask. We're not changing a lot of the way that the people are changing the process that they were doing before we had reviewers. is just trying to get everybody to play by the same rules and have the same expectations.
You don't have to
And
pitch me.
yeah, I get your point. I get your point. And we'll see how it goes. We might
Okay.
learn a few things. Thanks.
Cool.
Okay.
Michelle, yeah.
Mid milestone check-in, just so that you're aware, Andre, I'm never gonna put the percent here because your number never matches mine, but I think we're like exactly 50%. Backend team is overall progress is 45%, which is awesome because that's super on target. So everything is on track. And then here's a breakdown of what's going on. I don't know, this is the calculation. I don't know why 2 issues equals 20%, also 3 issues equals 20%, but that's the breakdown. We've only got 4 that's been started.
Okay. So the way that we do the calculation is just we check the total of the weights, and then we consider done verification at 100% done, in review 80% done, and then we check what that means in terms of the total of the weights. That's what gives the percentage. So my status update is we're currently sitting at 52% estimation of completion. So it looks like we're on track. We had a lot of work already finished, like the smaller things are already merged and in production, some of them. There is one thing that I would call out is like for staff OKRs, Phil is working on a big bulk of work to refactor the emoji dropdown. So that might be holding a lot of points of weight, like on in flight, which might be even a little bit ahead of 52%. The other thing is that when, I hope I don't get this wrong, Gary and Thomas, they're working on the synchronization of the file-by-file user preference. And they uncover that we can't use the existing API because the existing API is for admin only, and we want this to be non-admin users just setting the preference. So we have to create a new endpoint. We didn't really foresee that. For the synchronizing the user preference of file by file, I'm looking at you, Kai, your face.
I know, I'm trying to figure, why is there not like a user preferences API?
Not for the front end. I think we just do that because the user preference is only manipulated on the user preferences page, and that's done via HAML forms being submitted. That's the reason. So the idea here is we'll add a new endpoint to update the user preference. We're already reading the user preference. That's a good thing, but it might be that the backend work is finalized like later in the milestone and the front end doesn't have enough time to ship it. But even if it slips, it might be just a slight slip. But right now it's at risk. I think Gary is still pursuing that solution, but just a heads up, just as a heads up, it's a little bit at risk at this point to synchronize those two things. But so far, that's it. Make sense? They'll keep you posted on the status updates.
Yeah, I've seen. I'm fine with it. I'm still. It blows my mind that there's not like an existing like API to manipulate your own preferences.
Yeah,
but this hasn't come up before, sort of like thing that we could have just added an endpoint to, and now we're gonna like stub the whole thing. And then
we haven't done a great job at using public APIs, especially in code review. All of our endpoints are customized, so we could. I think GraphQL kind of moved us in that direction where all of the GraphQL endpoints are kind of like already prepared for kind of loose consumption. That's like the nature of GraphQL. But yeah, I was surprised that we don't have batch comments on APIs. That was a surprise.
Are we doing like, we'll just down the rabbit hole really quick. Are we doing, since we're building a user preferences API from scratch, are we doing that in GraphQL or REST?
You're not gonna like it.
In REST, right? Like,
yeah, it is because for us to consume GraphQL on the diffs API on the diffs app, we'd have to add some new components for the front end architecture, basically Apollo, and we don't want to mix Vuex and Apollo in such a complex application with memory usage problems and stuff like that. So we're gonna use the same thing as we have today. And I don't even know if Gary's going to make this whole generic user preference API or just a very specific file by file. File by file specific.
yeah, but it'll stub the base for other people to go and extend like the user preferences, right? Like if, in theory that you've now created user preferences, and this is a parameter of user preferences, but we're not gonna build the other preferences that exist.
I think so. When Gary watches this recording, he'll let you
know. Okay. Okay, yeah, there's a lot to not. Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay, we're done. Amy, hi.
Yes.
Take it
Hi.
away.
So I mostly wanted to check in with Kai here to find out what I should expect from the team regarding this work. I don't have a sense of how important it is to the team. I just know that I looked at it and said, I can move this horrifying piece of technical debt forward, but I can't finish it. So it's going to be off my plate soon, and I will leave the rest up to your team. Just let me know what you need from me.
Okay, I think it's in engineering. Like, I think at least Michelle has seen this issue. I know, Andre, you got thinking it as well. So
yep.
Yeah, the rest is the GraphQL pieces, right, that you can't update.
Correct. And one thing that I just can't find, I think the string is being Frankenstringed from multiple places, because I have grepped for that thing and I can't find it. But it's in the generated GraphQL, so it's coming from somewhere. So, but I've left an explanation in the issue of what remains and who needs to work on it.
Checked on that this morning. I haven't done anything with it, but I know it exists. And so hoping to get to that this week. Also merge conflicts, Kai. That's another big up in the air question. So both of those things I'm trying to dive into and delegate out to see what we need to do there.
Okay. As for me, I realize I don't, oh, sorry, Kai, go ahead.
Okay, what is the merge conflicts one?
What do we need to do? What's been done? What do we need to figure out?
Oh, right, the epic that's open to close out all the merge, the rest of the merge ref stuff. Got it. Okay. Got it.
For me, I know that right now I don't have the same kind of deliverables as the rest of the team, and I'm coming in cold. But if there's something horrifying in the backlog that you would like me to get to, let me know. I'm going to be looking to the PMs across Create to set most of my working priorities. God help me.
I'm looking to Andre and Michelle, and really I'm looking to Pedro, because Pedro knows where all of the the text problems lie inside of.
Oh, he's been sending them to me.
I think he sent you a long list, so I think that's working so far. But yeah, Andre and Michelle, given if you do know of anything, Amy has asked in the planning issue for a list of issues. So if you run across stuff that's got docs or text changes, feel free to add them to the list. It has been crazy to see. So thank you, Amy, all of the issues and merge requests of all these things that we've wanted to change and just have not gotten to, that are just moving along. So it's very much appreciated.
I have some interesting news for you. I'm only working half-time on this stuff. I'm half-time on something else right now.
Well,
buckle,
that's good. Let's keep
up.
it there. I'm not sure we can find full-time.
Nice of you to ease us into it.
Well, thank you for, if you could see the number of issues assigned to me right now, what's happening, this group will be the last one that I do in this manner. Step one for me when I take over a new doc set, once I do the things that other people expect of me, top to bottom read everything, period. And that generates a terrifying quantity of issues for me to work on. So I'll be balancing those plus whatever you have, and that will keep me busy until we get some IA decisions. But I like having milestone deliverables. I am fine with getting you should expect that from me. So keep that in mind when we're planning the next one.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks. Thanks everyone else. We'll see you around. I'm off tomorrow and Friday. I'll be home tomorrow, but not Friday. So if you need anything, ping me on Slack.
Sure. Enjoy your time off, man. You deserve it.
Yep. Yeah.